I am turning 39 next month, and if I look back and reflect on my journey and everything that it took me to get where I am today, there are so many lessons that I've learned. However, there are 5 lessons that have shifted and shaped my perspective on life in ways I could have never imagined. And if I had the chance to sit down with my 20 or 30-year-old self, this is what I would tell her. And if you're watching this video, it doesn't matter whether you're in your 20s, in your 30s, 40s, or even older. I really hope that you will find some value in the 5 lessons that I want to share with you today. Now, the first lesson that I would love to tell my 20 and 30-year-old self is that it's okay if you have not found your true calling yet. There were times when I really felt lost in life, when I felt like the biggest loser, simply because I was struggling to stick with one particular thing. Simply because, especially in my early 30s, I felt like I'm still not an expert at XYZ, that I'm still searching for my true calling. And I remember this conversation I had when I was in my early 30s, when someone who I looked up to told me, Weyni, if you're not an expert at XYZ by the age of 30, then it's over for you. And I remember how that would make me feel. I felt like, damn, I am here sabotaging my own life. I was full of self-doubt because there were so many things I was doing at that time, and I was really struggling to focus on one particular thing because I had so many passions, so many interests. I began my studies in African studies and cultural anthropology with the vision of becoming a lecturer in African history at one of the renowned universities. But then in the course of my studies, I developed more interests. I started working really early, and I got a full-time job immediately after I have finished my bachelor studies. And I must say I was really lucky to get that job because I know so many people who, even with a master's degree, struggle to find a job. And I was working with refugees from Africa and helping them to integrate them into the German labor market, and it was really fulfilling. I was able to help a lot of people, and that brought so much joy, and I really loved that job, to be honest. However, I felt like there must be more in life. I don't want to be stuck in Germany my entire life. I didn't know what I want to do, and as I said, I haven't found my true calling, but one thing I knew for sure, and I knew this very early on since my teenage years, is that I want to live and raise my children on the African continent. I don't want to live in Europe. And so that's when I started researching on ways of how to make that move. And that's when I learned about location-independent businesses. And despite having enrolled myself into a master's program in African studies and cultural anthropology, I put so much energy, time, and money into establishing my first location-independent business, which was my Amazon business, my first own business at that time. And while studying, I invested a lot of time into learning about private labeling, about logistics. I traveled to China to attend the biggest fair in the world, the Canton Fair, and visited factories, learned about manufacturing, learned about shipping and what have you. And I became an expert in that. And I launched my first products and established my first brand. And just when I thought, wow, this is it, I'm making money with it, it's giving me financial freedom, and I want to build my brand and want to make even more money. At that time, I was already making a lot of money, probably more money than my lecturer made in our university. However, just when I thought, this is it, Weyni, you found your thing, I lost interest and quit and shifted my focus to something else and devoted my time into a new field, which was the real estate sector. I learned more about buying land on the African continent, about ways to build your home base on the African continent through a concept called rental arbitrage, which basically means you can make money with property without owning it. And so that's when I invested into my first properties on the African continent and started my Airbnb business and built myself multiple home bases on the African continent. Mind you, all of that while still being enrolled in my master's studies. And then last year in January 2024, I decided, okay, now thanks to my Airbnb business, I have the financial freedom and that time to travel the African continent full time and start my journey as a content creator, which I did. And I embarked on this journey with my 2 children and explored many places on the African continent while homeschooling my children, while working on my studies, and while working on my Airbnb business. And then on top of that, creating content, learn about editing and everything related to content creation. And when I started my journey as a content creator on YouTube and Instagram, my channel blew up. I gained so many followers and subscribers in such a short period. I didn't even expected that. And that's when I came to realize that nothing was in vain. The time, energy, effort, and sweat that you put into mastering your Amazon business taught you about storytelling, a skill that I learned thanks to my first business, the Amazon business, which I eventually gave up. But I gained that skill of storytelling, which was important for branding my products. And then the knowledge that I gained from my master's studies that I eventually gave up, right? I quit my master's program. That was one of the toughest decisions of my life. But all the knowledge that I gained, the experiences that I made from traveling and from doing my field research on the ground, these stories, they were of such a big value for my journey as a content creator. Stories and knowledge that inspire my audience today. And I realized that I'm actually creating something new. Back then, I had the vision of becoming a lecturer in African studies at one of the renowned universities. But instead, I am creating content now, and I feel like I'm reaching way more people with the topics that I speak about African history, colonialism, than I would be able to reach at a university where so many students attend seminars, not because they want to, but because they have to, because they need these credit points. And now with my content that I'm creating and sharing on Instagram and on YouTube, I am reaching so many more people. I'm having an audience of millions of people who come to my channel because they want to learn, because they feel inspired. And that's so beautiful. So if I had the chance to sit down with my 20 or 30-year-old self today, I would tell her, Weyni, it's okay to have many passions. It's okay if you don't know what your true calling is. And it's okay to quit. It's okay to learn many different things. And it's okay to not be an expert at XYZ. Today, I am combining my knowledge from all the different fields that I worked in, and I'm creating something new. It's where innovation happens. And I also developed many skills that are so important in the world that we are living today. Adaptability, right? Resilience. For instance, and I know many people who are like me, who have started many different things and who have pursued many different careers, right? There's one thing that we have in common, and that is that it's so easy for us to step out of our comfort zone and to learn something new, something that we don't know nothing about. I developed so much self-confidence. Whenever I want to master something, there's nothing that can stop me. I know where I can get the knowledge. I know how important it is and how much value there is in investing in yourself, investing into developing a new skill. And this is an advantage that I have that so many so-called experts don't. And I am able to think outside of the box, to combine all the knowledge that I gained and eventually create something new. So if you feel lost and feel like you're sabotaging your own life because you struggle with pursuing one simple career, know that that is because society has programmed us into believing that every single one of us has one true calling, and that it's so important to be an expert at something or else you are a loser. And most importantly, that the idea that every one of us can only be one thing is the biggest lie society has told us. We can be many things at the same time. And I am the best example for that. I am an Airbnb host, and this business has allowed me financial freedom and the time to pursue the things that I really love. I am a content creator, making a living out of that. I am an educator that teaches her audience African history, cultures, anthropology. I am a mother, right? You can also pursue a career while being a mom. And yeah, that brings me to the second lesson. Always do the things that make you happy. When I signed up for my bachelor studies, I also did that because it was somehow expected from me. And it's getting a little bit personal now, but let me be very honest with you. I wanted to make my mother proud because I was the first child that got the chance to go to university. And I had it much easier than my older siblings who were born and raised in Ethiopia, who witnessed war and suffering. And me, on the other hand, I was born and raised in Germany, so I never knew what war means and what suffering means. And I had it much easier in life, right? And because I saw my mom sacrificing her whole life, working so much to give us everything that she herself never had, I felt like I must honor her. I must make her proud. And I felt that the only way to achieve that is by becoming a doctor, because, you know, that's a thing among migrant families, parents, African parents. They envision their child to become a doctor. And many of them, they don't even know that you can become a doctor in different subjects. For them, if they think about a doctor title, they only have the medical doctor in mind. And so in high school, I actually wanted to become a medical doctor until I once saw a dead body when we were doing an excursion during high school. And that's when I knew, no way, I'm going to work in that field. But I'm going to make my mom proud and going to become a doctor anyway. Not a doctor in medicine, but a doctor in anthropology and African studies. And I realized that for a long time, my studies were not fulfilling me anymore. I could not see myself in academia for the rest of my life. I felt there must be more in life, right? And I must say that was one of the toughest decisions of my life. When last year, when I was traveling through the African continent and began creating content, I felt like this is too much. I cannot continue working on my master's while doing all these other things, while working on my Airbnb business, while creating content and learning more about editing. And I felt like I'm running after really 10 rabbits and I'm ending up catching none of them. So I had to make a tough decision in my life. And I'm so grateful for this journey because it gave me a lot of space to reflect and room to grow and understand that many things that I'm doing in life, right, like my master's studies, are things that I'm actually doing for others and not for myself. Because to do the things that really fulfill me, like teaching African history, educating others and sharing my knowledge, inspiring the diaspora, I actually don't need a doctor title to do these things. I am doing these things right now with my YouTube channel, with my Instagram channel. I don't need any doctor title for that. I know who I am. I know that I'm worthy with or without a doctor title. And most importantly, I know that there are many other ways to make my mother proud by living the life that actually fulfills me, that makes me happy. Because after all, I truly believe that is what our parents truly wish for us. To be happy in life, right? Of course, as long as you do something meaningful and as long as you are able to financially sustain yourself. And with the things that I'm doing right now, I'm not only able to financially sustain myself, I'm also able to support my mother. I was able to provide a home base for my mother on one of the most beautiful parts of the world, on the island of Zanzibar. Imagine, whenever my mother feels like she needs a time out, I'm like, Mom, here is your key. And just last month, I flew her into Kenya and we traveled the country. We visited Tanzania. We had an incredible trip and safari, a balloon ride, all these things. I was able to provide her and to gift her because of the decisions that I made. And seeing it with her own eyes made her so proud of me. And I realized I did the right thing. And this brings me to my third important lesson. Fam, it's okay to quit. Don't think because you have invested so much time, energy, and money into something that you have to stick with it. It's okay if you say, I quit. And it doesn't matter whether it's a business that is no longer working for you, that is no longer making money. And it doesn't matter how long you have been working on that business, how much time, energy, and money you have invested in that business, right? I know many people, they are emotionally attached to something. That can also be a relationship, a person that you have been with for 10 years, right? My first relationship lasted 10 years and I should have quit it much earlier looking back today. So that's a big lesson that I would give my 20-year-old self or 30-year-old self. It's okay to quit if something no longer serves you. Quit and move on. There's so much power in letting go, because leaving behind something that no longer serves you, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, or a business, will make space for the things that are meant to be in your life. Now, the fourth lesson that I would love to share with you is to never take anything personal. And there was one particular book, which is the book called The Four Agreements. And this book was really a game changer for me because it taught me the importance of not taking anything personal. And it doesn't matter whether people are praising you or whether they are hating on you, because in 99% of the time, when people praise you, it's because you have done something good for them. But as soon as you put yourself first, right? As soon as you don't do the things that they expect from you, you will become the worst person ever. You will be the most evil person for them. Mind you, a year ago, a few days ago, you were the best. But as soon as you set boundaries and put yourself first and do the things that fulfill you, right? Regardless of how other people will feel, they will despise you. They will even tarnish your name, lie about you. This is how humans are. And there's also a lot of jealousy involved, right? A lot of projection involved, because you're doing the things that they wish they could do. They feel threatened by your power, by your energy, by your presence. And I learned that a lot from my content creation journey, right? And that is also, by the way, how I was able to step out of my comfort zone and make myself vulnerable. I receive a lot of hate on my socials, whether on Instagram or on YouTube. But know that it's mostly the most ugliest, most miserable people that will come online and attack you. Because just think about it for a second. Somebody who is happy with their own life, somebody who feels fulfilled, would never take the time to attack somebody online, to troll someone online. Whenever I see something online, opinions that I don't agree with, I just scroll and case closed. However, when you're happy, when you're doing the things that fulfill you, when you're confident, people will feel threatened and attacked by that. This can be random people and trolls on the internet. This can be friends and relatives, people who are very close to you. And that's also one of the biggest lessons in my life. Stay away from jealous people by any means necessary. And trust me, you will not believe it, right? But the moment you're becoming successful, the moment you're setting boundaries, the moment when you put yourself first, some people cannot hide their jealousy any longer. They will start to criticize you. They will start to talk down on you, dismiss your opinions, and belittle you. And my best advice is run as fast as you can. And here my previous lesson comes in again. Forget about how long that friendship lasted. Forget about how much time you have invested in that friendship, how many beautiful memories you have. Just let go. Wish that person all the best and make space for the people who are meant to be in your life. Now, let's get to the last lesson, one of the most important lessons, lesson number 5, that has shifted and shaped my perspective in life and brought me to where I am today. And there is a powerful story to help you understand. So, a water bottle in the supermarket costs 20 cents, okay? And the same bottle of water costs $3 on the airport and up to $10 on the plane. The water bottle is always the same. It's only the environment that changes the value of that water bottle. And the lesson here is that if you are in a position, in an environment where you no longer feel valued, then change your environment and not yourself. For me, it was the big move to leave Germany behind and move to the African continent, where I am celebrated and not tolerated, like in Germany, a country that always reminded me that I don't belong there, that I will never be German, that I will always be seen as the foreigner, that is seen as a threat just because of the color of my skin. And the moment that I moved to the African continent, I felt valued, I felt loved, I felt seen. And this is one of the most powerful feelings ever. It gave me the space and room to grow, to reach my full potential. Even though I'm not where I want to be in life, it's a journey and I'm in love with the process. However, I finally feel like I am home. And I wish this for everyone out there. So if you feel like you're no longer valued where you are, it can be a circle of friends. It can be even a country, right? Where you don't feel welcomed anymore, where you face discrimination because of the color of your skin or your religion. Please don't change yourself. Just change your environment and watch the magic happen. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or even lessons that you've learned in life that you would love to share with us. Each one teach one. Stay blessed, fam, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Bye.